Hello everyone, it's Denise here today. I'm creating a mixed media layout using the Take a Hike collection from BoBunny. I used a stickable stencil and some gesso and an old credit card. I lay it down and then pushed the gesso through the stencil with the old credit card. I then overlapped the dots a bit by moving the stencil down and doing exactly the same, and I moved it down even further to the bottom left hand of the page. I didn't want a solid block of dots, and so I was careful not to use the entire stencil. I used my fingers and a knife to take away any little bits of gesso that I didn't want. I'm now drying off the gesso. It's really important that one dries it really well so that when you do watercolor effects that the gesso doesn't run. I now take some green acrylic distress paint and I water it down with some water and a spray bottle. I then lay the water paper down and spray the stenciled gesso areas with the water. I then take a paintbrush and I dab the paint onto the wet areas. This allows the paint to just run between the gesso stenciled areas. I always keep a paper napkin handy so that I can dab up any excess. I take my heat gun again and I dry off the stenciled gesso areas and also the watercolor effects. I often turn my page over so that I can dry the other side as well. This assists with the warping of the paper. If you dry it from both sides, it tends to help with that warping and eventually it does straighten it out. For the backing paper, I use my trimmer to just take off the label and prepare that backing page. I now distress the edges of the watercolor paper using a distresser, and I'm going to do the same for the backing paper. I now use double-sided tape to stick this watercolor paper down to the backing page. I use big strips. This allows, this actually helps with the warping of the page, so that if it is a little bit warped, it will help to flatten it out and straighten it out. I always start with the middle piece and then move towards the edges so that I can flatten out from the middle towards the edges. Using my paintbrush, I add more splatters to this background page. These splatters are not diluted with water, and so they stand out against that watercolor background, but they add nice splashy and arty effects. I start cutting the strips for the matting of the photo. I cut various lengths and various widths of these strips to create a weave-like design for the matting behind my photo. I lay these down and try to decide on the design that I want to use. This was the design that I eventually decided on. So now that I decided on the design and the lengths and the widths of the strips, I can now stick them down with double-sided tape. Now comes the fun part of also adding strips of washi tape. I just tear them off and make sure that the edges are uneven. I don't want solid edges on the ends. I was originally going to go with more than one type of washi tape, but then just decided on this writing washi tape. It's really gorgeous. I get out my BoBunny stamps and various colors of pigment ink, and I start to randomly stamp over the background. There's no right or wrong here. You just play and have some fun and randomly stamp with different colors over the background. It's always good to have a paper towel handy to wipe one's fingers, especially when stamping. Otherwise, it can get really messy. Now I'm going to add another piece behind my photo, another piece of matting. I also distress the edges of that and also ink those edges. Now I want to add some more stamping. Those are the coffee stain stamps, and I needed my photo so that I could know exactly where I wanted to put those. You'll see me rubbing out. I did actually put a few little ink marks on the page, but if those ink marks are fresh, you can actually use a rubber or an eraser to erase those fairly easily. I also raised this photo with some foam. Sometimes when one is doing a layout, you find bits and pieces which you think you might want to add to the page. Like I got this piece from the Noteworthy pack, which I thought I would use the frame from. I tried to see whether it would actually go with my page, tried for a fit, and just couldn't get it to work, and so I left it off. But I think that's the fun part about putting this page together, is that one can decide what is going to add to your design and that which is not going to, and then so you leave it off. And so one goes about taking all these bits and pieces and seeing whether they really do fit with your page and whether they fit with the design style and design that you have in mind. I love those trees. I really did want to make sure that I used them. I thought about deleting this part of the video where I'm trying and showing you how I'm trying to fit little bits and pieces and then eventually leave them off. I think that's the important part of any page, is deciding what to use and what to leave off. Once you've decided on the bits and pieces that you want to use in your layout, it's time to stick them down with double-sided tape or foam squares. I wanted to cut some words from the pattern paper to use on the page, and especially for my title. So I went along to this gorgeous pattern paper and cut out the words that I wanted to use. If any of you know me, you will know that I absolutely love to fussy cut pattern papers and use these as embellishments on the page. And here I really wanted to use these woody bits to add to this boy page and also give it a really nice natural feel. I saw some gorgeous stars on the chipboard pieces. They were orange and beautiful, and I thought that I would really like to add them to the page and that they would really add to this design. I got out these stickers and wanted to use those trees on the edge of the page, but I didn't want a straight edged sticker, so I tore the top part of the trees off so that it had a uneven edge. Here I'm actually gluing down the title to the page. Lastly, I took a white gel pen and I added some highlights to some of the accents just to make them stand out a little bit. I thought that was the end, but then I realized I wanted to add some more highlights with a paintbrush and some white paint, and so I added the last final touches to this page. Here's the end result, and I really hope that you enjoyed this journey with me.